Culdee Fell engines were settling down for the day. It was a cool, crisp Halloween evening. They were still awake and growing restless.
What we need,
said Shane,
is a scary story.
The engines looked at Ernest, Wilfred and Culdee. They had been on the railway longer than the rest of them. Wilfred and Culdee exchanged a look and glanced over at Ernest. He sighed.
Well, you remember Godred?
The engines mumbled in agreement.
Well, his accident wasn't all about his conceit and relying too much on his automatic brakes.
The engines gasped.
They say it was sabotage.
The engines listened with wide eyes.
A man.
Culdee and Wilfred nodded in agreement. The others goggled in surprise.
We think,
he went on,
that he jammed the points. When Godred jumped the rails, his crew managed to get out of his cab and leap to safety. Godred, as you know, fell down the mountain and was put at the back of the shed after being rescued.
Rubbish! How could he tell you this?
Wilfred spoke up.
He told me what he had seen afterwards. I had brought his passengers down.
The engines were silent.
Who was this man?
Said Shane at last.
A gentleman who was at the railway's opening, only a few months prior to the accident.
Eric Kronos.
Hey, that's my name.
Yes, both of you and he were named after a small town, not far from here. A Sudric settlement, now abandoned. He was walking across Summit platform. The day was misty and damp. Suddenly, his wife slipped and toppled over, banging her head on the floor. She was killed instantly. Consumed by fury, he blamed the railway and tried to sabotage it. His only successful attempt was making Godred fall down the mountain. He was caught and put in prison until his death only a few years later.
But what about the Finn Clergman's book?
Said Eric.
It said that Godred was considered as his lead to his fate.
That
replied Ernest.
Was just a cover story. This one was unsuitable for children.
The engines were silent, until Patrick spoke again.
Absolute nonsense. You're growing senile in your old age, Ernest. You too, Wilfred.
Suit yourself, but watch out for Eric Kronos. They say during misty nights he still wanders the mountain up to Summit Station. The day Godred had his accident was misty, so you be careful out there, Patrick.
Patrick said nothing as he fell asleep. Next day, it was misty and damp. Patrick was first to be out. He muttered to himself as he reluctantly left the shed.
Oh, stupid Ernest. Stupid story.
He found his coach, called Louise, and set out to the station. Culdee was already there. Be careful, Patrick. The rails are slippery.
Pah, I've got my pinion wheels, haven't I?
Yes, but be careful anyway. You don't want to derail at the points again, do you?
Humph.
And with that, Patrick departed. He climbed up the mountain at a furious pace.
Stupid story, stupid story,
he said to himself. He reached Summit 10 minutes later. He waited for another 10 minutes to wait for Shane to come up. Shane soon arrived.
Culdee told me about the slippy rails. Be careful on the way down.
Yeah, whatever.
He was only halfway down the first slope when it happened.
There's someone by the line.
His driver fireman didn't see anything. Suddenly, Patrick's pinion lifted clear of the rack and he was rolling down the mountain. His driver braked hard and Patrick only just managed to stay on the rails. He then heard a loud scream. And then silence.
What was that?
I don't know, Patrick, but something strange is going on. Patrick was silent in the shed that night. The other engines gave him space. He was scared and frightened.